Should a company's shareholders have a say when it comes to compensation for their top executives? Americans for Financial Reform, a group that is pushing for changes in the U.S. financial sector, took up the issue recently in Washington.
The real reason that we are concerned about excessive and what can be excessive CEO pay is really the loss of alignment of interest between shareholders and the executives.
Ann Sheehan with the California State Teachers Retirement System says shareholders deserve a greater say on pay.
Our goal in terms of tracking say on pay is really to remind the companies that we as the owners, what is the value that we are getting as we go through the ups and downs of the market as the pay continues to increase.
But others argue the salaries for corporate executives should really be left to the marketplace.
You have one very good recourse if you think that a CEO is being paid too much. You can sell the share.
At the Ayn Rand Center for Individual Rights, analyst Don Watkins, speaking via video conference, says there's simply no role for government intervention when it comes to executive pay. He says companies that should be allowed to fail are instead being bailed out by the U.S. government.
And the problem is not, oh, these guys are getting rich. The problem is they're getting money not through the voluntary choices of individuals, but because they are connected with Washington. And they are able to use political power to reach their hand in the taxpayer's purse.
There's been public outcry in the United States in recent years about CEOs who received high levels of compensation, even as American taxpayers paid to rescue their companies. The sentiment is shared by the Occupy Wall Street protests that have spread across America. Robert Brown of the University of Denver says that the say-on-pay movement for CEOs could spill over to the salaries of company directors below them.
That's another area where you're seeing some eye-popping numbers. Apple Computer in 2010 had 5 directors that had total compensation of more than $800,000, 2 of them of more than $1 million. It will be interesting to see whether some of the lessons that we learn in CEO pay and advisory votes on CEO pay also will become applicable to director pay.
But Don Watkins says that high earners are being unfairly targeted.
The fact is that the real movement here, the people who are really pushing restriction or pushing these measures, what they object to is people making a lot of money.
In the UK, the country's business secretary is looking at proposals to address the country's income disparity between executives and workers.
If you look at the experience in the UK, where they've had this under their laws for quite a number of years, it hasn't had an impact in terms of lowering overall executive pay rates. And in fact, bonuses have increased quite a bit during the years that they've had say on pay.
Sarah Anderson is with the Institute for Policy Studies.
To me, it's just another reminder that while it's important for shareholders to have more power, the problems of executive pay go beyond just a shareholder issue, that we need other kinds of government policies that can try to introduce more reason and rationality into our pay practices.
In 1980, the salary in the United States for a chief executive was 40 times larger than that of the company's rank-and-file worker on average. But today, this income gap has grown to about 300 to 1. And the pursuit of such huge compensation packages, says Sarah Anderson, can tempt executives to boost company earnings with strategies that are inherently risky. I'm Philip Alexiou, VOA News.